This is the North Georgia Life Podcast. Embrace life where you live. Welcome to the North Georgia Life Podcast. It's Jake, your host, and today's episode, as I got to this episode and as I went away, I just kind of had the thought of what an amazing place that we live in. There was so much diversity in what we have around us and what's available to us, and I really kind of felt like I was experiencing, it's kind of comical, the whole point of the podcast, which is getting to explore some of the hidden treasures in our area, and I'm telling you, this is one of them. This is absolutely one of them. A lot of us, I talked to somebody at the gym yesterday that, one of their goals for 2020 is to get a hold of their health, and this is one of those ways to do it. We're at a local organic farm in the North Georgia region that supplies food not only to farmers markets, but has channels where you can get fresh fruits and vegetables delivered to your door. You don't have to go to a farmer's market through one of their partners. So, the week something is harvested from the ground, you can have it on your plate. And again, so many people have no idea something like this exists in our area, and that's why we're bringing it to you. It's the whole point of the podcast. You can always find us online at Facebook and Instagram, North Georgia Life Podcast. You can email us at northgeorgialifepodcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions, suggestions for future episodes, happy to provide as much information and feedback as I can. And if you have a friend, a coworker, a neighbor, somebody that you know that has just moved into this area or maybe just needs to get out of the routine that they're in on the day-to-day, would you share this podcast with them and give them a chance to explore some other hidden treasures in our area and hear the story about the people behind those organizations and businesses? So with that, we'll get started. Welcome to the North Georgia Life Podcast. It's Jake, your host, and today's episode I am super intrigued about and excited to bring to you because it is a really special place in our region of the world, and one of those things that I think a lot of people are interested in, want to know about, and they just don't know it's there, which is part of the reason we do the podcast, to bring it to you. So we are at Fry Farm, which is in Bethlehem, and I'm with Matt Fry, who is the farm manager, and this is a family-owned and run operation, and this is, in its truest sense, what farming should be and could be and was like for years and generations ago. And we have an active farm that is bringing good quality, fresh foods, organically grown, to all sorts of different avenues around our region. And we've got a pretty great story of how it started and where it is now. So, Matt, thanks for taking the time to be here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So the house we're in today was the house that you grew up in.
Yes.
This is a family farm.
That's right.
And you moved here when?
We moved here in 94.
Okay.
My parents purchased property, moved from Loganville, and moved here.
And it's how many acres again?
It's 12 acres.
12 acres. Mm-hmm. So not hundreds of acres.
No, it's not. It's not huge.
Tells you don't need a huge piece of property. You just need to know how to use it right.
That's right. Yeah.
And they started out. Were they always farmers? Did they always have a green thumb? Do you remember?
They did. They both of them grew up gardening. Growing vegetables with their family. And yeah, as soon as they moved out here, we started a little garden plot and started growing. Tomatoes and peppers and all your usual suspects.
Yeah, I was going to say all the usual things people start out growing.
That's right.
Was that something that was in your DNA naturally? You just like being outside in the garden, or?
Yeah, I definitely like being outside. I think I spent more time chasing, snakes and lizards than actually up in the garden up until a certain point. But I definitely loved it. I love being outside and, just seeing the whole process. It's something I fell in love with later on in life, but as a kid, I definitely I like being out there.
So, about how big was the first garden, you think?
The first garden was probably, maybe 20 by 50.
Okay,
something like that. It's very small. So just right on top of the hill, and had it fenced in, keep the rabbits and the deer out.
Yeah.
So I wish we could do that with what we have now. But,
yeah.
But yeah, that's where it started, and just grew kind of the the common southern vegetables, like I said, tomatoes, eggplant, peppers, a few greens here and there, collards, things like that.
Mm-hmm. And what stage did you get involved in the actual operation of the farm?
So my parents actually started, back up a little bit, the economy kind of crashed. My dad works in the construction industry. So around 2008, they decided to start selling some of their vegetables to try to make up for some of the lost income. And so they got into a farmer's market. It was the Swanee Farmer's Market, was the original one.
Mm-hmm.
I was in college at the time, and I started helping them doing the market and then coming out when I could and helping them in the garden, getting everything growing. And then just kind of kept helping them do that. I came out of college and went and did an internship with Trout Unlimited.
Mm-hmm.
I got a forestry degree from Warnell School of Forestry Resources. I did work a little bit in the agricultural world. I worked for the crop and soil sciences while I was in college. Anyways, came out and I actually went to work for a company that did nuisance wildlife control. So I was basically a critter getter. And so I did that. And
did you get to blow up any beaver dams?
I did, actually. Absolutely
awesome.
did.
That's that's on my bucket list.
Yeah,
if anybody has a connection for how to blow up beaver dams, please call me.
It's definitely something to see when you see that stuff getting shot 100 feet up in the air in the middle of the swamp.
That's what I'm talking about.
Did a lot of trapping beavers and bats and squirrels, everything you can think of.
Mm-hmm.
And I continued doing that for several years. But while during my time off, I would come help on the farm, and we just kind of slowly grew it. And I guess I eventually came on board full time. I think it was in 2016.
Okay.
When I came on full time.
Okay. I would imagine as the farmers market started to pick up as far as them selling stuff, the garden, if you will, here grew and grew and grew. Did they have a plan of saying, hey, we think this could actually be a business, or was it just like it got to be a lot and then it was like, we got a business here?
Not at first. Nobody was thinking it was going to be an actual sustainable business. It was more of a hobby farm trying to make some extra income.
Mm-hmm.
But as we grew more and more, we started seeing a lot of potential there. A lot of people really getting excited about it. And from day one, we were really particular about the quality of the produce that we were putting out.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't sell anything that didn't look great. A lot better than anything you've ever seen in a grocery store.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where it all stemmed from. And we just saw the potential with customers really just loving all of it. And
mm-hmm.
It was kind of driven by the customers. Hey, we want this, we want that. And so we started adding growing space here, started adding growing space there.
Mm-hmm.
And, I kind of just fell in love with the whole process. And then, I guess it was around, 2013, 2014 when I started seeing, okay, well, this might actually turn into something.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of getting tired of the industry I was in, wasn't really happy with the company I was working for, and started working on an out.
Mm-hmm.
And we just kind of grew it to a point where now it is a successful business at this point.
When I was talking with Adriana at Alta Cucina, so
she's awesome.
She is awesome. She needs to have her own show somewhere.
She does, yes, she does. I could listen to her all day.
I know. So she was telling me about some of the produce that you have, and she was describing it to me, and I think she showed me a picture or two, and it was some of the honestly crops I've never seen before.
Right.
Where did those come from? Can you share a little bit about some of those specialty products beyond the zucchinis, the peppers, the tomatoes, the greens, some of those things that are maybe more normal crops?
Right. Yeah, a lot of it came from customers suggesting we grow certain things. A lot of it was just us looking through seed catalogs and wanting to stand out from the rest of the farms.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of things like right now we have pink radicchio, which is a just beautiful pink head.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people call it pink lettuce, but it is a salad green. It's just like you've never seen before.
Yeah, I think that was one of the ones she showed me.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it looks like a flower, but you're chopping it up and putting it in a salad. We have rainbow carrots, but it's not your standard rainbow carrot mix. We actually take several varieties of carrots, mix them together, and then plant them. And so when we're pulling them, you've got different shades of purples and pinks and reds and yellows and whites and, of course, orange.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd grow things like parsnips, which you don't really see in the South that much.
I grew a bunch of parsnips this year.
Did you?
I don't know how well I did.
Yeah.
I need good recipes for parsnips because I got about a 5-gallon bucket full of parsnips in my garage that I just pulled this week, which is late on harvesting them. We'll talk after. I need to know what to do with them.
I always tell everybody you roast them. Any root, you just throw some olive oil and salt on it, roast it in the oven.
Okay.
Very simple.
Okay.
And you'll love them. But yeah, just different things like that. We have, even things like kale, which is a common vegetable. We find different varieties that are different colors, like a red Ursa and red Russian. There's a lacinato that's got a red stem. We grow purple varieties like purple bok choy, purple tatsoi, purple Napa cabbage. I could
things
go
that
on
are good for you in the nutrient sense, but it's going to be a whole lot more attractive.
It is, yeah.
On the plate.
That's right.
As we all know, you taste with your eyes first.
That's right.
So
yeah.
that's really cool. So I want to transition because one of the things that, and this is, so you're probably the third tier in the conversation of how I got here, which was our family starting probably about a year ago of really trying to get our family as best we can into the non-GMO world, the organic, products.
Right.
And I don't know if the right word is so much ignorance, but there's so many people who, frankly, are being affected by having genetically modified things. They're just they don't maybe know it yet.
Right.
And that was us. It was you're just a normal person eating, quote, normal food, and then, you get a diagnosis or something bad happens, or you start having, certain issues, whether it's digestive, skin issues, all sorts of different things. And a lot of it is being traced back to, frankly, the quality and the products of the type of food that you're putting in your body and what has happened to those things along the way to get in front of you on your plate or in your bowl or whatever. And one of the things that was fascinating, which I want selfishly just kind of the inside secrets, because I've had so many problems in gardens, just little, not 20 by 50, like 10 by 10 gardens with insects that are like zucchini, like last year. I don't know what the little green worms are, but I want to burn them all.
Yeah, probably pickle worms as well.
Yeah, so, you get a good-looking zucchini, everything's rocking and rolling, and then, bam, one day the whole thing is eaten out by these little messengers of Satan.
Right. Yeah, that's a good word for them.
Yeah, so you don't use any pesticides.
No synthetic pesticides. We do have some organic options that we can use that have no residual. They're naturally derived. Things like Pyganic, which is an organic pyrethrin.
Okay.
It has as soon as it hits the plant, it hits the bug. It can kill the bug, whichever one it's labeled for, and then it's gone. It dissipates. It doesn't stick around like the synthetic pesticides that can stay on the vegetables for months.
Yeah.
And then for the most part, we don't use anything.
Yeah.
We work on our soil. That's the most important thing. You get your soil healthy, the plants are healthy, and plants have natural defense mechanisms. It's actually pretty amazing.
It's kind of like people.
That's right.
Like the human body.
Absolutely. And the funny part is these plants, if they're good and healthy, they're releasing these, some people call them flavonoids, which deter insects, but it actually increases the flavor of the plant. And so when you're eating, something that's been attacked by bugs or something, if it's a healthy plant and it's been releasing those flavonoids, you're actually going to have a better flavor than something that's been doused with pesticides that never even seen a bug on them because they die immediately before they get to that point. So as long as our soil's healthy, for the most part, we do pretty well with the insects. Now, sometimes we have to just kind of write off a crop and mow it down and kind of start over. Like I said, there's neem oil, there's like garlic oil, things like that we can use that help. None of them work very good.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of keep your expectations managed. But it's definitely doable.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily, on a larger scale, that people say if we're going to feed the world, we have to use pesticides and things like that. And I don't really buy into that because I think there is ways of getting around that.
Yeah. I do you use chickens?
We do.
You got
Well, we don't.
a team of chickens here?
We have about 200 chickens that we
wow.
use for egg laying, but we don't really run them through the fields just for sanitation issues.
Okay.
But we do sometimes when we have to write off a crop that's been attacked by bugs, we cut that crop down and give it to the chickens and let them eat the bugs and the plants, and they have a field day with that.
Yeah.
And we sometimes do run the chickens through fields that we aren't going to be harvesting anything from for a while. But yeah.
Yeah. So somebody had told me years ago, one of the things that I do, just because we don't like to spray anything on our vegetables and stuff, which is frankly why I've not been a very successful gardener, because I haven't figured out the secrets yet, but of using a little bit of dish soap with a little bit of cayenne pepper and basically just dousing the foliage of the plants, top and bottom of the leaf, with that. And as it was explained to me, all insects hate soap.
Yeah.
And so the soap, he said, just a little bit of soap is actually good for the foliage of the plant, but it also is a natural deterrent. And it's just that is a maintenance game of, obviously the rain is going to wash it off. It's going to eventually, dissipate and wear off. So let's talk about the soil, because I think your description of that, it's the same way some of the medical professionals that our family has met with and talked with, that are like, our doctor right now is an MD, but does everything treatment-wise in terms of vitamin supplements, homeopathic remedies and stuff like that. And her comment to us has basically been, when the body has the right balances of where it needs to have all the reactions it needs to have, the body will fight off almost anything.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
It's made to defend itself. The reason a lot of us get sick and we've got all these issues is because we have deficiencies, or we're ingesting something that is actively fighting against our body. And I hadn't even thought about the nature of, effectively soil being that for the plant, because that's what the roots are taking in. That's the environment it's in. For somebody who is maybe just wants a couple container gardens, small, 6, 8, 12 plants, probably the only soil they have access to is what's going to be at your, big box hardware stores.
Right.
Do you have a hard and fast recommendation on that? Do they need to go somewhere else to get garden soil?
No, not necessarily. You can use what's at Home Depot. You really need to check and make sure, there's so many different types of soil there. There's, bags of potting mix, and there's a bag of peat. There's just so many things. So you want to make sure you have all your nutrients there. And so what I'd recommend is getting a bag of whatever soil they have, making sure it doesn't have any chemicals in it. Sometimes they already have chemical fertilizer in it. We don't really want that. And then you can take that, mix it with some native soil from your own backyard. Maybe do like a 50-50 mix or something. Then you're going to want to put some sort of nitrogen in it. So you can get a bag of, I think they call it black hen.
Black cow.
Or black cow. Black hen's got a higher nitrogen content than black cow, but you can do something like that and throw a bag of that in there and mix it in. And that should give you a pretty good soil base. And, maybe a little bit of lime just in case it's acidic. It should be balanced out already with that soil. But, that should give you a good base as long as you have all those nutrients that you need. Of course, there's other things. We could talk for hours about what else goes into it. But that would be a pretty good start.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure you have some nitrogen in there, and that putting your native soil in there, that's going to hold the moisture in a little better. It's going to make a better consistency.
Okay. So let's talk about where your products are now. So you're supplying about how many locations at this point?
So we do 2 farmers markets, the Sandy Springs Farmers Market and the Suwannee Farmers Market. Both of those are on Saturdays from 8 to noon.
Okay.
And it's the off season right now. The Suwannee Farmers Market actually has a winter market every second Saturday of every month. So you can find us there. And then Sandy Springs opens back up in April. Suwannee opens back up in May full time. And we also supply to a company called Fresh Harvest, and they're out of Atlanta. Really great company, and they do veggie boxes, and they actually deliver them to your front door. There's different options. You can go on their website and check. And we're not the only farm that provides to them, but they're sticklers about quality, and they get a lot of produce from us, which is nice. We like working with them. And then we work with a company called Collective Harvest out of Athens. We're one of 6 farms that provide to them, and it's more of a traditional CSA. They don't really know the numbers right now. It's in the winter CSA right now, but they have quite a few members, and you go through, and it's customizable, but you basically pick up your basket every week full of vegetables from those farms, and all the farms are just like us. They grow really high quality produce. They get it to the customers very fast. So you're getting it very fresh. It's not been sitting around like, the produce in the grocery store.
Yeah.
And then we also provide to some restaurants. Right now, there's 2 restaurants in Winder that we provide a lot to. It's Bistro off Broad.
Yes.
And Lobby at the Maddox.
I don't know a lot. Bistro,
it's right next door.
Yes.
And Chef Alex Friedman, he's awesome. He's so in tuned to buying local stuff. I mean, he buys a lot from us. I just took a huge order yesterday to him, and it's an awesome restaurant.
Yeah.
Both of them really are. We eat there quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, and to have him in Winder, if you're not familiar with Winder, a lot of it's growing. Let's just put it that way.
I was gonna say, downtown. I was actually talking about downtown Winder with somebody in a real estate conversation. Might have been beginning of this week. It was this week or last week, and I said, it was Friday last week. Downtown Winder is going to be like downtown Buford in 10 years.
Yep.
Like,
absolutely.
If you're an aspiring business that you want to get in on the ground floor, that is a move you need to make now. Get your spot in downtown Winder because it's coming there.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's already changed a lot since I was a kid. So it's really kind of neat to watch it grow like that.
In our world, as we kind of shop for produce and food and everything now, my wife and I have kind of coined this term like everything free, which is antibiotic free, pesticide free, non-GMO, organic. It is what it should have been and was 100 years ago. So everything you do on the farm that's the ultimate goal. As natural as humanly possible.
That's right.
with a ton of variety. And so I don't know if retailers is the right word, but the places that like you said, Fresh Harvest and some of those places where people can order fresh produce year round. Right. So obviously the menu is going to change some, but that's the conversation I had with somebody about a month ago was they love farmers markets. They love getting stuff, but one they go to locally is only a part of the year.
Right.
So it's not a year-round thing, which at that point, when you're getting fresh stuff, one, it's going to taste better, and you get a little bit of culinary experience. You get to start cooking a few different things, a few different ways.
That's right.
The places that you have you're ordering from, anybody have recipes? We got recipes for any of this stuff online?
Yeah. Fresh Harvest and Collective Harvest both put out recipes weekly, to reflect what they're putting in, especially things when we have stuff that they're buying. And they're good about buying unique produce. Stuff that people aren't familiar with, they'll put recipes out.
So you're kind of dummy proofing it for people who are...
That's right.
They want to eat healthy, but then it's like, I got all this stuff that I don't know. I don't know how to cook.
Well, like I said before, I'm a lazy cook, so everything gets roasted or gets eaten raw. So it's real simple, and it always tastes really well. Any of the roots, any of the broccoli, cauliflower, any of that stuff, you just toss it in olive oil, salt it, throw it in the oven. It's going to taste good. It's very simple.
So I'm gonna share one of my, and you may already do this. So I don't like some things that I really want to like Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
So I've started when we'll have like a steak, which is very rare. We'll have steak a couple times a year. I'll cut the fat off the steak and I put it in the freezer. And then I get a cast iron pan and I saute the Brussels sprouts with the steak fat.
Oh, that sounds great.
Oh, dude.
That's the way to go with Brussels sprouts. You don't want to do the old steam
don't,
Brussels sprouts.
Don't steam them. Don't worry about olive oil. Saute them in some steak fat so you get good animal fat.
Get a little charred.
Just wait till they get a little bit black on the outside. Put some salt and pepper on them, and that's all you need.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah,
yeah.
For people that don't like Brussels sprouts, they try that. They're gonna like them.
Yeah, that's the way to have them. Yeah. Any best memories, favorite stories from the farm?
We do
field trips come here.
We do tours sometimes. We have a lady named Lisa Washington. She is a yoga instructor. Health coach, and she does a luncheon out here once a year. I don't know when it's going to be this year yet. We haven't figured it out, but She brings a ton of people out here, and she does a yoga class. We do a farm tour, and she does this big luncheon. She's an awesome chef. And other than that, we just do some tours, every now and again. So not a lot of big events, but we would like to do that in the future. But as far as story, my favorite story from the farm, I think we used to do a market at the YMCA in Dunwoody. And I had this guy that came in every day. I had my stuff set up, and he would kind of turn his nose up a little bit because a lot of people, it's kind of a political thing with seeing organic vegetables, and they're just kind of turning, whatever, organic, that's silly. But I just started to notice it kind of caught his eye a little bit more every week and every week. And finally, he came and bought some stuff from us. And he came back the next week and he's like, wow, this just tastes so much better than what you get in the grocery store. And he bought more. And eventually he was buying weeks worth of vegetables from us every week. And he came to me one time and told me that he had been eating so many of our vegetables, and he went to the doctor, and the doctor actually was amazed at how healthy he was, and he was able to take him off some of his prescription meds. And it was just really neat to see that change in someone that, kind of thinks of, organic produce. A lot of people kind of, they think it's more of a fad or a gimmick. And he started realizing that quality, especially buying it local, it's only been on the ground for 24 hours. And it really changed his whole perspective on it. And now he's a customer. I think he buys Fresh Harvest baskets now. We don't do that market anymore, but he's still a customer of ours, and it's really cool to see somebody transform like that.
There's I may get the name wrong. We watched a number of documentaries years ago before it was like we were watching these food and health documentaries before we were really making any changes, and it was kind of like we were gearing up for, I guess, the life change that we were about to have, and we didn't even know it. But I think the documentary is called The Magic Pill. And if I'm remembering it correctly, there was a number of people, I think maybe 5 or 6 people that they followed that all had different health issues. And like, I remember one of the ladies was on, I don't know, like 12, 15 different medications. And they changed her diet to basically a whole food diet. So if it was not alive in some way, shape, or form, it was not eaten. And that's all she ate for, I think it was, if not that long, it was like 6-8 weeks maybe. And by the end of that, like there was one prescription she didn't even get filled. And she was off, I think, all of her medications in a tube. Like, it was a really short period of time. I can't remember how much it was, but for that kind of lifestyle change, she was having vision problems. There's all sorts of things. And like the one, I remember the one medication, her doctor was like, "Oh, this must really be working." And she was like, "I didn't have the heart to tell him. Like, I never took it. I never took it. I just changed what I was putting in my body."
It's amazing how your diet can have a huge effect on your overall health.
Something I share with people, because so many people are, if you've not been negatively affected, you don't know. It's like you just don't know what you don't know. For years, I had skin issues where my skin would break out, and I went to, I don't know how many different dermatologists, and it was nobody. Some would say it's psoriasis, some would say it's eczema, all these different things. And they were just trying to give me prescriptions. Here's this pill, here's this steroid cream, here's this whatever. And I got so frustrated because of there's something in me that is causing this. I don't want an outside treatment. I want to know what the cause is, because if I know what the cause is, I can fix it. And for me, it's 100% linked to dairy. And the weird thing, which I don't share this with a whole lot of people, but so I had figured that out, and it's different kinds of dairy affect me differently. So I could have a piece of pizza or a couple pieces of pizza on Friday night, and for the most part I'm fine. If I have leftovers the next day for lunch, game over. My skin will break out. It usually happens in about 24 hours, and it takes a week to clear up. Well, what I didn't understand, so a couple years ago, I did periodic fasting over the course of a year, and one of the weeks, the longest period I did was 7 days. So 7 days with just, basically liquids, and obviously no dairy. And on day, I think it was like 5, my skin started to break out. Like I had had, ice cream.
Yeah.
And it hit me because somebody years ago had shared with me a story about somebody that they knew who had the same kind of thing, and it was like your body has whatever this is stored in your cells, and it's like if you picture a cup and you're filling the cup up, to a certain level. Once it gets full, then it starts spilling over, and the stuff starts coming out of you. Well, if your body is getting food constantly, it's burning other energy. It's not dipping into that cup. But when you don't have that, and it starts to need to tap into your fat cells and your stored up energy in your body, it's dipping into that cup and it's releasing that whatever that is into your bloodstream, just like you would if you were eating. And it hit me. I'm like, this stuff is in my body, and it's like I have a certain threshold that my body can tolerate.
Right.
And I go beyond that, and that's when it comes out. And so I've shared that with so many people. My wife, she had so many digestive problems for her whole life, and when we got off gluten, instantly fixed. Instantly. And then every now and then, we joke about it. She'll like fall off the wagon, and I'll be
So you go out to
I'll be
eat.
like, the wagon's getting a little far away. You might want to get back on. And instantly, like she starts. She has something a day or two with gluten, right back at it.
Yeah.
Off gluten, clear sailing.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know what it is, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
I digress. But that's kind of my personal history or story on just how important food is and knowing what you're putting in your body.
Right.
Over the next 5-10 years, you guys have any expansion plans for the farm? Is there parts of the farm that you're not utilizing for farming that you want to grow? You guys comfortable where you're at?
Yeah,
size-wise?
well, we don't have anything planned as far as expanding the land. It is something that's going to happen in the next few years. We're going to be at our limit here on this property, and we'll have to find some more acreage. We are adding a pack shed this year, where we can, get everything packed up and, wash all our produce and prep everything. It's going to make it a lot easier doing that. And we're getting better at growing in the space we have. We're learning things. You're constantly learning. We're getting better yields. We're learning to slow down on our tillage, which is helping the soil. We're just getting, I think we've got a lot of potential here still to get better using the space we have. But in the next few years, we definitely will be looking to get more acreage because there's a lot of potential out there. There's demand for our products, and there's no reason to slow down. Yeah,
and I think the demand, honestly, I think it's going to exponentially grow because, as we all know, all of the subdivisions they're building homes right on top of each other. You don't have a prayer for having a space for a garden. So a lot of people do container gardens, just 5-gallon buckets on the back porch, stuff like that. They may be moving from a property where they did have a garden.
Right.
And so they still want that. I mean, you get a fresh grown tomato from your back deck and one from the grocery store. It's night and day.
Right.
I mean, it's
It
completely different. This is a great option to still get the product that you want. Now, granted, you're not going to have the gardening green thumb activities, but you're still able to get the end result without, not have to sacrifice that.
Yeah, it's going to be about as fresh as you're going to get without growing it your own. And I think that's another important part besides supporting local businesses, getting local produce. I mean, when you harvest a vegetable, you're ending its life. It's starting to die at that point. So you're on a time crunch. You got to get it in, get it eaten, or you're going to start losing flavor.
Right.
And so when you go to the grocery store, you're buying something that's been sitting around for no telling how long. It's been shipped around. It's lost a ton of nutrients. It's absorbed flavors from wherever it's been stored. And so, that's buying local produce. But beside the fact of, that it is organically grown, it just tastes better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to taste like you grew it in your backyard,
Yeah. So you've been in this area for quite a while. Any of your favorite spots, things to do, places to go that you love?
Yeah, I'm an avid fly fisherman, so I really love lot of people don't realize it's in our backyard is the Chattahoochee River, the national recreation area, between Buford Dam and on down. It's one of the best trout fisheries in the country, and we're driving it over every day. We're in traffic.
we're cussing the traffic or driving over it.
It's just really incredible. And if you get down and explore it and get in it, and it's just a beautiful place. And it's really something. It's neat that we have that here. And even further up above Lake Lanier, the Chattahoochee up there is just such a beautiful place. And I think we take it for granted a lot, but I love spending a lot of time there.
Yeah, I was at up in Helen yesterday, and there's some of the best trout fishing. Yeah. I mean, within 30 minutes any direction of Helen, it's like a fly fisherman's paradise.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have the big open rivers like you do out west, but it's good fishing.
Yeah, and even below Buford Dam, below Lake Lanier, going right through the city. I mean, you can be floating down the river catching big trout just right there, and you can get out and you're in the middle of the city, and it's pretty special thing that we need to continue to protect.
One of the things I like to do at every episode before we wrap up is called the lightning round, which is a question that has nothing to do about anything. So today's question is kind of a open-ended question. The question is, if you were going to be a Marvel or Avengers superhero, which one would you be and why?
I'd have to say Iron Man.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know which world he's in. I don't.
I get it confused.
I get
but
too many.
I'd have to say Iron Man. I just like the. He's got that problem solving thing. He's always kind of figuring things out.
Yeah.
And working with gadgets and things like that. I think he's just he's a cool character. So that's probably who I would choose.
Yeah. I would probably do that as well. Maybe Superman.
Yeah.
Because Superman doesn't need the gadgets, but the personality of Iron Man, especially
Robert Downey
Jr. is just fantastic actor. Okay, so how do people find out about your farm, where your products are? Do you have direct links to the farmers markets, the retailers that you supply, where they can get either come and pick them up themselves or get them delivered to their front door? How do they get that in that process?
Well, you can go to our website. It's www.fry-farm.com.
So
FRY-FARM.com. And you can find all the links there to who we supply to and the farmers markets that we attend. And you can find us on Instagram. We do a lot of Instagram posts, Facebook. We're at Fry Farm.
Okay.
We also do a newsletter once a week. It's during the market season, we send it out once a week. During the off season, it's probably more like once a month. But you can go on our website and click find us and sign up for that newsletter, and it'll have, we send it out. We'll send a list of what we have. It'll have all the information on how to order, where we're going to be, and then you can go from there. And you can always feel free to reach out to us, send us a message on social media, email us. We're info@fryfarm.com. And I'm happy to answer anybody's question. If you're just asking a question about gardening, or if you want to know where to find our stuff, we're open to all of it.
So my final thought question is, how do you keep those little green worms from off your zucchini?
Well, zucchini's tough. If you get them started early, I mean, like right as soon as you think we're going to be, safe from a freeze or frost, go ahead and get those plants in. And that gets a jump on. The pickleworms seem to get really bad towards the middle of the summer. But there is a product, and it's an organic product. It's called BT that you can use. It's one of those things that doesn't last very long, so you're going to have to keep it applied. It's going to get washed off, things like that. But it's only for worms. It only hurts worms. And so when they go to eat the zucchini, it makes them sick and they fall off. It's derived from it's natural in the soil. BT's everywhere. It's in our soil. It's everywhere. So it's completely safe.
And what about the creepy giant tomato devouring worms?
Those
that look like they're from outer space.
Right, the tomato hornworms.
Oh,
those we typically just pick them off by hand.
Yeah.
You can find them, you'll see the little piles of poop on the leaves, and you'll know there's one above it somewhere. You pick them off. Other than that, there's really not a whole lot you can do. BT may work on those, but it's not likely.
Yeah.
So I would just say we usually don't have that big of problems with them.
They must have like low jack on me because they find my tomatoes every year. I had them literally on a second story deck last year, and somehow they climbed up the dang post and were on my tomatoes on my back deck. I'm like, how? Like, where are you coming from?
We've had times where if you don't find them, pretty quickly, they'll strip the leaf
it's
fast.
Done.
Yeah.
It's like 2-3 days and it's over.
Yeah. We have more problems with the actual cutworms that drill into the actual tomato fruit to get in there, and those things are really tough to deal with. Mm-hmm. Like I said, you can also use insect covers. We have the same thing we use for frost protection, but it's thinner, and you can drape that over your plants, and that keeps things off of it. And using mulch helps as well. But overall, like I said, just keep the plants healthy. They have their own defense mechanisms. I mean, plants are a lot smarter, for lack of a better term, than we give them credit for.
Well, cool. Matt, I really appreciate your time. I don't want to keep you indoors when you need to be outdoors. With that, we'll wrap up. And again, appreciate your time.
Thanks, Jake.
This is the North Georgia Life Podcast. Embrace life where you live.